if Korean parents are a little heavy-handed, well, probably all parents are a little heavy-handed at one time or another, but I would say leave a little room to grow and communicate. And watch out for producing exactly what you don't want by exerting too much pressure.
Have you any advice for Korean students who aspire to join top American universities like Harvard? For Korean undergraduates who hope to attend Harvard Law School?
One of the major changes that's occurred in the 42 years I've been at Harvard is the increase in Asian students of all kinds. Asian students in the first 20 years I was teaching, there were very few. And when they came to the law school, they tended to be very polite and very quiet. It's changing now. I think we see students from all over Asia who are much more willing to be vocal, to stand up, to confront, to adapt to the kind of American way. Students are still very polite, but they can be polite and still confrontational. I remember one experience with a Korean student who had gotten all A's through high school and college, and that he was terrified if he got anything but A's, he would be a disgrace to the family. And during the course of the semester, it was becoming clear that he was not going to be an A or an A+ student, that he was going to be a good, solid student, perhaps A- or B+. He was terrified. He was very frightened about how it would appear to his parents, and I had to spend a lot of time with him, telling him that success at Harvard is not measured by grades alone, and that he would be a great lawyer, and that he should accept the possibility that he might not be a straight A student. It was a difficult conversation because he wasn't used to it. So I think that the stereotyped ambition of Korean parents, and everything is always a stereotype, it's not always true, is something that cuts both ways. First, it produces very good students and very ambitious students. But second, it can produce real tension and anxiety on the part of the students as well.
Well, my advice would be, yes, you need to work very hard. You should not set it as your only goal. Set it as a goal, but not your only goal. Occasionally, we don't ask students to master anything. We just say, well, try it, or see what you like, or, do your own thing. And that complete laissez-faire system seems to me to be rather bad. But simply listing what has to be done and putting enormous pressure on people to achieve it in a competitive way, and as it were cramming it in, and then saying, well, you have to study this because if you study that, you won't succeed, or you won't make a lot of money, or you won't have a good career. That should be something that, at least in part, the student ought to find out on their own, or they ought to discover what their own temperament and interests lead them to. Because if they don't find it out early, they will eventually find it out. But you don't want to find it out too late, when the opportunities have disappeared, or when it's very, very hard to go back and get them. People who write well and read well and have large general knowledge very often succeed in business and government in a way that people who start off studying only business and only government don't succeed, because at a certain managerial level you have to make connections and deal with different kinds of people. You have to communicate with them. You have to see a larger picture. A lot of what happens in college is making the best of the opportunities that are given to you. And any really good college or university will present to students more opportunities than they can possibly take advantage of. So, very much so, the result of that education then is what you make of it. So I would say to students anywhere, including to Korean students, yes, aspire to something, set a goal. And if it's going to Harvard, that's fine. But that can't be the only goal.
A good education is to learn how to think for yourself, to learn how to disagree with authority, is to learn how to do things differently from what it was done before. I would not worry too much about doing well in tests, because you're already very good at doing it. What I would worry more is to think a little bit more about what we were saying before, that learning things and passing tests is always only the first part of becoming a good economist. The second part is creativity and being able to produce your own ideas, and that is something that there's no book that teaches you how to do it. So my advice would be prepared for that, think about it, try to maybe take one less test in Korea and write one more paper in which you try to bring some creative idea about anything. They don't even need to be economic, whatever it is. Maybe take one fewer test and write one more essay in which you challenge the conventional wisdom on some topic. First, I would work a lot on my English. And second, take one less test and write one more essays about something which you express your own ideas and you challenge some views that some people have and try to be creative and assertive. And then third advice, when you get here, try to be really a part of the community. Don't always hang out with your Korean friends.
Not to say work 23 hours a day and so forth. I mean, love learning is important. To love learning is important.
I like the message. That's what I want.
Yeah, to love learning is important whether you go to Harvard or you go to no university at all.
Title.
But to understand that there's lots of different routes to achieve satisfaction and to achieve something important in life. Not only one route, and not only to get into the most prestigious university. If you do, that's fine. But that's not the most important thing.
If you were given 60 seconds, what would you say to Korean youth?
Okay, I'm going to turn to the Korean youth now and say, travel a great deal, see the world, don't ever be insular, always look for many, many points of view, retain your tradition, the best parts of it, always think of yourself as hyphenated Americans. That's very important. You are Korean Americans or American Koreans, however you want to do it. Don't reject your tradition, but don't reject your home. Take what you will from your tradition, what is most useful to you. But don't simply say, in order to succeed, I have to give up everything from the past. Strike that appropriate balance between tradition and modernity. Continue with the best parts of your tradition: ambition, hard work, respect, but it should be respectful challenges. Students got me a wonderful t-shirt a few years ago. It said, challenge authority, but raise your hand first. And that's very important. You can be respectful. I'm not as respectful as I ought to be sometimes, but you can be respectful and also challenging at the same time. Always ask questions. My parents and many other parents from my tradition, when they would come home from school, they would often ask us, not did you give a good answer today, but did you ask a good question? And asking a good question, a challenging question, is often the key to success. So my goal in my lifetime is to see the first Korean American president of the United States.
I would say many things actually begin with honesty. Being honest about what you want, trying to find it out, being honest with other people in your dealings. We all have regrets, and we all have moments of remorse when we know we did things we shouldn't have done and the like. But if you are honest about that, if you don't fool yourself and are not self-deceptive, I think that is a very strong foundation for whatever it is you do. And that honesty begins in very little things, like questioning whether what you say is genuinely true or whether it's just rumor or speculation or hearsay, whether it's what you say about friends or what you say about some sort of situation far away. That sense of respecting accuracy and truth, it's hard, but I would say that that's a very good place to begin. And also, I would say that cultivating not only your intellectual life and the life of the mind, but the life of your feelings as well. Because we very often decide things or have an attitude towards things based on our emotional life. And to pay attention to that as well as to our